Is there anything left on your bucket list?
I'm afraid to tell you this.
What?
Well,
myga, as if you haven't done that? Do you think I didn't know that?
I didn't think you did. I don't know who told you, but I'm going to kill Maddie.
You don't love to cook.
No.
That's not really your thing.
That's not my thing. No.
No. Have you ever been in a toxic relationship?
Yes.
Myga, do tell. Were you a good student?
No.
Were you thinking about lying for a second there?
Yeah. I'll get caught. So
myga lives in an apartment complex that is essentially a sorority house for people over the age of like 60. How old were you when you got married?
22.
You know what I was doing at 22? myga, I was taking Jello shots on the table at the bar.
I see a difference in young women today versus when I was young. I think it's more of me, rather than you. Oh yeah.
You get this from Mom and Cody?
No, they probably got it from me. I love being here.
She loves the camera.
I do.
Hi, house guests. Welcome back to my home this week. My grandma, myga, is coming on. She is such a highly requested woman on the show. She's everyone's favorite YouTube guest. Like, she really is everything. She invented me, okay? The sewing, the needle pointing, all of that stuff, that really all comes from her. And she is on the show today giving us her best life advice. She's very funny. She comes off like a little timid, but like she's not at all. She's got a lot to say, and you guys are going to love this episode. You guys know me. If this could be an episode where I'm in like a retirement home, not that myga lives in one of those, but if I could target a certain age demographic and just interview them, I would, because I feel like you just get so much more out of conversations from their wisdom and their life, and it's just such a good feel-good episode, and you guys are going to absolutely love it. myga is so fab. She is everything, and she's like my bestest friend. We hang out all the time. So hope you guys enjoy this episode, and let's welcome myga onto the show. I cannot believe we finally have the celebrity that is myga, my grandma, here on the show.
I love being here.
She loves the camera.
I do.
I was just saying this to my dad. It's so funny because growing up, I would always keep my family off the camera because I didn't think anyone wanted to be in my videos. And then, like, lo and behold, myga loves the camera.
And I was like, I wonder why she never asks me to be in her videos.
Because I would be like respectful. She'd be over filming and I would film myself because like you hadn't agreed to be on camera. And then as time went on, I started seeing her like creeping into the shot, like a little closer and closer each time. So then your cover was blown. You love the camera.
I do.
And today it's her first podcast episode ever.
Yes.
So this is very exciting.
This is very interesting.
Interesting. Good. How many of your friends have you told about this?
I've only told 2.
Only 2.
Yes.
Will you be sending out like a mass thing at your
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, you'll be telling everyone.
Everyone will know.
Are you going to have a watch party?
Yes, of course.
For a video of you. You can see where I get it from. It really runs in our blood. It does. That, the needle pointing, the every other thing that we do, gardening.
Sewing.
Any of the grandma hobbies.
Yes,
truly.
I do them all.
I think we should start off by telling everyone where you got the name myga.
When Kenzie was a baby, probably maybe 6 months old, she would hold me and put her hands on my face and say, myga, myga. And we're like, what is a myga? And finally, she did it to her dad one day, and she was like doing, my da. We're like, oh my gosh, she's trying to say my grandma.
I was a little bit territorial.
Yes. And then all the grandchildren now call me myga. Everyone does.
Everyone,
actually.
our friends, like family friends, people that know you out in public, when you introduce yourself, you say, hi, I'm myga.
Myga.
Yeah, I've like completely changed this woman's name.
It's a good name.
Yeah.
It's a good name.
So my grandma, myga, and I feel like we are very similar. Out of your grandchildren, I'm definitely the most similar to you.
Very.
We do most everything together as well. We both, like I said, we love to garden, we love to needlepoint, we love to read, we like audiobooks.
Love to read.
You don't love to cook.
No.
That's not really your thing.
That's not my thing. No.
No. But we have a lot of hobbies because, you know, I love my grandma hobbies, and then these are just the things we've always done. I grew up at her shop because my mom and my grandma had a bedding company together and a drapery company, and they had this shop downtown McKinney. If you guys know where Harvest is, if you guys are Dallas people, that was our shop that we grew up in. And I would always like go quote work for them. I would get paid, you know, There were definitely some child labor laws that were crossed there.
Right. Just a few.
I could be like $1 a day probably. But I would go in, my grandma, you'd be sewing, mom would be designing, I would come in and be cleaning, or sometimes I'd make my own little purses.
Yes.
It's really where I fell in love with home stuff. It's where I became like very creative. I feel like
Textiles.
everything, like career-wise, like that is really where it started, was in that shop downtown McKinney.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you miss that? Like working there?
No. No.
Love that. She's very blunt, so we appreciate
It was
that.
a lot of work.
You just like to kind of chill a little bit more.
And by the time I had met my husband, he wanted me to quit. He wanted to travel and do things together, and it took a lot of my time.
You wanted to have fun.
Yeah. So I was like, it's time for me to retire.
We have a lot of questions for you today to impart some wisdom on us. But I think before we get into that, I want the audience to know a little bit more about you. So let's do a little quick life story.
Just me tell a story? Or?
Yeah, like where were you born?
Well,
How many siblings did you have? Where are you from?
I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. There were actually 7 children. One passed away at a year old. So there were 6 of us, though, growing up. And we had a lake house. So I had a good childhood. Just freedom to run. And we had, the 3 acres. So we played ball. We sleigh ride. It wasn't like it is today where you can't just let kids run. We would get on our bikes and go miles and miles. We belonged to a swim club. So I had a really good childhood.
Were you a good student?
No. No, I wasn't.
Were you thinking about lying for a second there?
Yeah. I'll get caught. So no,
There's too many
I really
cameras.
wasn't. And I did go to college, and I quit after a year and a half. That's my one regret in life, is that I didn't finish college. But your grandpa had been wounded in Vietnam. We didn't know it. We just never heard from him for months and months, and then finally heard from him. But it was just a hard time.
I didn't realize it was months and months you guys hadn't heard from him.
No, we didn't. And finally, his mother and I contacted the Red Cross, and they wound up sending something, and they got a hold of his captain, who came into his hospital room and said, "You will write your family."
Wow.
He was so depressed that he didn't want to write. So he thought he was going back into battle, but then it turned out he couldn't, so he wound up coming home after about a year of surgeries and things. But it was just a very depressing time, because at college, it was all the protesters who were barefoot, and then my boyfriend is over in Vietnam fighting, so there was such a conflict there.
Yeah, well, I think that's very hard also when you're seeing people die. And
it was
the family thought he was gone.
Yes.
That was what was so scary.
We did. We just thought he was gone, so.
Yeah.
And it was just every night on the news, they'd say how many soldiers died. So, but then he came back, and we actually broke up for about a year, and then we got back together and got married and had children, and
there you go.
had a good life.
She lives in Texas now. We are together all the time, but I get all of my creative things from you and Mom for sure.
For sure.
We love a home project. We love
Yes.
anything with I was gonna say we love anything with a needle. Even needle and thread.
Yeah,
all right?
needle thread. Add thread to that.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, good. I just wanted to give them a little bit of backstory on you. So I have a lot of questions for you to answer today,
Okay.
to give all of us youngins some advice.
Okay.
It's going to be good. Okay. Number 1, what do you wish more young women knew?
I see a difference in young women today versus when I was young. And I think it's more of me, rather than you.
Mm-hmm.
Be more interested in other people and what they have to say and offer, and not so much about yourself.
I agree with that. What is something you used to worry about that you now realize doesn't matter?
Almost everything. I'm a worrier. I fret over things. I wake up in the middle of the night, and now that I'm older, I'm like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Worrying doesn't change anything at all, so don't do it.
But how do you just stop worrying?
Meditation.
Do you meditate?
Oh, yeah.
I never knew that about you.
Oh, yeah.
You get this from Mom and Cody? When did you start meditating?
No, they probably got it from me.
Really?
Yeah.
Would Mom say that that's true?
I don't know because I never talked about it.
Okay.
But I'm just really good at meditating, to sit down, especially in the early morning. Sometimes reading my Bible, but just thinking about things and letting it go.
When did you start meditating?
I've always meditated.
My God, this is so crazy. Whenever I learn something new about you, it's crazy. Like whenever we play the family cards and I learn something new, it's insane because
You're like, what?
I spent the most time with you almost out of anyone in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So at what age did you start meditating?
Probably in my late 20s.
When you meditate, you just sit down?
Just sit down and you just relax. Now when I meditate, I walk. When I walk the dog in the morning and just, I don't know how people cannot believe in God because you look up at the sky and the beauty and I just don't know how anybody could not believe that there is a higher authority that has created all of this.
I also think you have nothing to lose by believing in something bigger than you, but you...
Exactly.
I don't think you necessarily lose by not believing, but for me personally, I would rather have some sort of hope in life. And if I'm wrong, okay, whatever, I had hope. That's the biggest crime I committed. That's fine by me.
What have you got to lose?
Exactly. Something else. We were talking earlier. Guys, we are on TikTok. I'm always sending myga like different needlepoint stuff. I've sent her screenshots of things, TikToks, like probably 3 or 4 times a day. Yesterday, I think this is a crime for people to do. Yesterday, this woman posted all of these needlepoint projects that were stunning, finished, mind you. The project was finished. They wasn't finished until it's so hard when you try to explain finishing in needlepoint.
Well, it wasn't made into a product yet, right?
But the actual canvas was done.
Yes.
And these were ones that would take hours and hours. And I'm talking probably...
Some of them would take a year.
I would say collectively, it's a year-long project, multiple at Goodwill for $25. I couldn't believe it. And before you ask why didn't you go, it was in Alabama. And I just want to say, if there is any of my great-grandchildren listening to this, if any of them take any of our needlepoint, I'm coming back and I'm haunting them for the rest of their lives. That is insane.
They're a treasure.
Yeah, why would you ever get rid of that stuff? I even think about a couple things that I have in my house where people have family notes on them that I've just thrifted. And I'm like, how'd you ever get rid of that?
Right.
That is insane.
Right.
Meanwhile, myga and I are hoarding this stuff.
And you have one picture I gave you that you better never get rid of.
It's hung up in my living room.
Yes.
Of course. I know. Trust me.
It came from the Chase Park Plaza Hotel.
Should we tell this story?
St. Louis. We could.
We should tell the story. I think I told it on Homeworthy. It's already out there.
Yeah, my grandpa worked there. I thought he ran the place when I was a child, but it turns out he was a janitor. And he brought these pictures home to my mom, and they're antiques. Later, we found that they were stolen.
Yeah, we're not sure how much he brought it as much as he stole it, but years later, I have it in my living room.
We're pretty sure he copped them, but hopefully they don't call me and want them back.
I think we're definitely past statute of limitations on that one. I think we're good. So. What's the secret to a happy life?
Oh, gosh. Contentment.
How do you find contentment?
Don't worry. Don't fret. Be happy with what you have. And not worry about what you don't have.
Do you see a major difference just in the past 30, 40 years with people being discontent just because now on social media we can see what everyone else has? Have you noticed it has gotten worse?
Oh, probably. Probably because you, like you said, you can go on social media and it seems like everybody's got all these things and it's not so. But
I think contentment's a good one.
I'm just happy with my life. I've always looked at the good side of everything. The positive side. I don't allow negativity in my life. If I sense it with someone or something, I immediately run away.
Yeah, you really do. myga likes a boundary.
Yes.
You like to cut off.
Yeah, I do. It's hard to do, though.
Yeah, it is. I feel this way about both you and Mom. With every year that goes by, you guys are just tougher and tougher. You guys put up with a lot less. I think when I was a child, I remember you guys having put up with more, and now it's a loss of patience.
Exactly. Exactly, yeah.
Just not doing it anymore.
Different things in your life affect you that way, like the loss that we went through last year. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you're like, I'm not going to let anything in my life that's not important.
Yeah.
That doesn't have meaning.
Grief really, it's so weird.
Changes you.
It changes every aspect of you, but it's so weird because on one end it makes there's this thing called grief brain where you can't really think straight.
Mm-hmm.
You forget things all the time. You're very flustered. And I have it all the time. Like I
Brain
can't
fog.
really, yeah, your brain fog is just so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the other hand, it gives you a level of clarity that feels like a sixth sense. It's something that
Exactly.
you could never have achieved almost. It feels like you have like a higher understanding.
Right.
It almost feels like you're closer to God in a way.
Exactly. I was
Not
just gonna say
closer
that.
than other people. It just felt like closer than you were before. Like you can hear more clearly.
Exactly.
It does.
The
definitely
clarity
something.
is improved.
Yeah,
And you
immensely.
just, people that say things, you're just like, okay, I'm going to get away from them.
It's not really the vibe that we're going for these days. We're not really doing that. Okay, how do you know when you're on the right path?
Well, you have peace. That's the biggest thing. You know that you have that inner peace. You're not in turmoil anymore. When you're not on the right path, for me, God speaks to me and says, let's go a different way.
How do you feel you hear from God?
When I meditate,
This new thing I learned about you today. Like I actually cannot get over this. Okay, moving on to more of love and relationships.
oh,
Are you ready for this one?
I don't know, because I might not want my kids to know this stuff.
It's okay. That's the fun thing about being a grandkid. If there's anything happening, Mike and I are always on the phone. I'm like,
yeah.
what'd you hear about this? Okay, what have you learned about love over the years?
It's more about friendship, companionship, being with someone you're comfortable with. You know, when you first meet someone, it's romance, but that's not what it's about. In the end, it's just being comfortable with that person, enjoying being with them, being able to say anything you want to say and not worry about it.
That's a big one for you. Myga loves to say anything she wants to say. It's funny because nothing that you say, I feel like when you would say that about your grandparent, it sounds like they'd say like really controversial things. You actually don't say anything controversial. It's just that you say what you want to say.
Yes.
Yeah. Also for context, so Myga was married to my grandpa for, how long were you guys married?
24 years.
For 24 years. They split when my mom was an adult. Mm-hmm. And then she remarried when I was probably 11.
Like
10 or 11.
17 years later, I think.
Yeah.
They married.
She was single for a long time. And then background on our family. Our family is originally from St. Louis. And then we moved to Texas when I was 2. And then Myga ended up following us out here. So then she met someone out here. How long were you and Paul married before you passed away?
We were married 10 years.
Married 10 years.
11 years, I think.
And she moved out of our house when they got together, and we were devastated about that one. Specifically Cody, he had a really hard time with it. But then we would always go hang out there. Like I would go sleep over there all the time.
Yes.
Also as an adult, from where the houses are 5 minutes apart. But when you're a child, it feels like it's 45, you know?
Right.
It's literally down the road. It was so close. And then he passed away 6 years ago now?
Yes,
6 years
6
ago.
years.
What makes a relationship last?
Honesty is one of the big ones. Just being comfortable with each other.
Not putting up a front.
Right. Not trying to be what he wants you to be, or just be yourself.
Let the chips fall where they may. What is the best thing about being single?
There's some good things about it. If you don't feel like eating dinner that night, you just don't eat. Mm-hmm. If you don't have to worry about someone else. You can be very selfish, which is all right. But we have conversations. I live in a community, senior community, active, and us girls will sit around and talk about being single and do we ever want to meet somebody? And a lot of the girls are like, I never want to meet somebody. They have no desire. Where I kind of like being with somebody. Mm-hmm. We talk about how we're busy all day. I mean, there's activity after activity after activity. It's like you can keep busy every day, all day long. But when you go home at night, you close that door, you're by yourself. Mm-hmm. And it can be lonely.
Myga lives in an apartment complex that is essentially a sorority house for people over the age of like 60.
It is.
It is so crazy. She is so booked and busy to get on her calendar. It's actually genuinely difficult. Like you are so busy.
I know you always say, well, let's see what Mike is doing first.
I
And
know.
then we'll schedule.
I know. Her schedule's more insane. I live between 2 states and somehow her schedule is crazier. It's insane. You're very social.
Very.
Have you ever been in a toxic relationship?
Yes.
Myga, do tell.
I had one that was very toxic, and I knew it after a year, but just couldn't get out of it. So it lasted 3 years till I finally ended it.
Wow. But what made you finally end it? Like what gave you the strength?
it was just time to move on, and I finally got the courage to do it. Because there were things about the relationship that were really good,
Of course.
but toxic.
Toxic.
Yeah.
Mike has been in a toxic relationship. The more you know, more you know. What would you tell your 27-year-old self about heartbreak?
Oh, gosh. At that point, I hadn't had any heartbreak. But just that you can get through it. It's not the end of the world. You will survive.
It does feel catastrophic during it.
It does. You're like, am I ever going to survive this? Will I ever be able to get over this? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And I tend to, when I'm sad or lonely or hurt, I tend to lock myself up in my bedroom and I don't come out. Like when Cody passed, I didn't come out of my apartment for 3 months. And that was not healthy.
I get that from you. Mom got it from you too.
Yeah, you do. And, there was a healing process that took place, but just you got to reach a point where you say, okay, no more, and get out and heal.
Yeah, you got to keep pushing. See, it's so crazy to think about you at
Yes.
27 and me at 27. Because when I was going through these questions, I'm like, well, you were married with children.
I had 2 children at that point.
That is so crazy to me.
Yeah.
I am like, can't even really fathom being with someone. Your friends, when they say like, oh, I never want to get married, I never want to, I understand that. Like, I like my life. I do want to be with someone. I want to have a family. Like, I do want to do all those things now, of course. But I understand how they feel that way. Like, I feel like most women in our family are all like relationship girls. Or not maybe relationships. I just think that you guys like dating more than I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm definitely...
Well, it's different in the time, the way we grew up was different.
There wasn't really an option.
Right. And when women got married, they did the cooking and the taking care of the children, and they did it all. Mm-hmm. And where now, women are like,
Yeah. They grew a backbone.
Yes, exactly.
Like there's a couple other things that have happened, but yeah, it is very different. We're going to move on to more of like work, ambition, identity questions.
Okay.
What was your proudest moment professionally and personally?
Professionally was when we got accepted by a major bedding company, like the biggest one there is. Neiman's. And
she's like, guys, please ask me.
That was very exciting.
Yeah, that was a huge deal.
And it was also fun. We had so much fun with it, going to the trade shows, and just the excitement of it was wonderful. And personally...
Your children being born?
Oh,
or
yeah.
Me being born? Hello.
It would be my children and my grandchildren. And I was there at every birth for my grandchildren. Of course, I was there for my children.
By default. I think about growing up at the trade shows too, because it's so funny, because would you guys have ever seen me ending up going into something kind of similar? Like, what did you think was going to happen for my life?
You were going to be successful. There was no doubt about that, because you had to be number one in everything. At school, I remember one day your mom told you were leaving for school, and she goes, do something bad today, because you were perfect.
Yeah,
you would never do something bad. And, your mom would tease you and say, just do something bad today. You're like, oh, Mom, I can't do it.
I was so uptight. Like, I was not.
Very.
Yeah.
High-strung, everything had to be perfect. Grades had to be perfect. I remember we played a game one time at Christmas, and the older cousins all knew how to play, and it was to spell a word. And you were like, how come I don't know how to spell? Well, you were like really young. And we're like, you'll learn in time. Yeah, but I should know now. I mean, you were very upset that everyone else knew how to spell and you didn't. So after that, every sign you saw, you'd read the sign.
Yeah. And then I was a crazy good reader. And then I really went into that.
You really read everything. We used to go to the flea markets and get because I read Nancy Drew when I was young. So we bought every Nancy Drew book we could find.
Yeah. That was the best part, is that I would get bribed because I hated all this furniture shopping. I grew up in antique stores and I hated it. I was so bored as a child. But I would get the Nancy Drew books because they have a lot of antique Nancy Drew books. So I would get them. I had every single one. I cannot believe we sold those or got rid of them. Like,
I know.
We should have kept them forever. I did buy some at an antique store. I do have some in my house.
Yeah.
We have a needlepoint canvas too. But Yeah, that's how I go. Actually, the home is why I got so good at reading too, because I'd read all the time because I was just in these boring antique
All the
stores,
time.
and no kids had iPads then. iPads weren't even a thing.
Yeah, you read to entertain yourself, and I don't know if kids do that now.
Yeah.
Play games.
Okay, did you ever feel pressure to be something or achieve something? Or to maybe do something by a certain timeline?
I did, but I put the pressure on myself. Like my parents never put pressure on me. And I always felt my brothers and sisters were, I don't know if I want to say better than me, but my brother was a dentist, my sister was an engineer, and I just always felt like they were smarter than me, but I never let it really bother me. I just achieved whatever I wanted. And if I wanted to do something or learn something, I did it. We had this construction company, and housing had really gone bad. So we started doing more of like room additions. And so this couple wanted a room addition, and we had to get a plan drawn. And I thought, I can do that. So I went to the college. I called the college. Do you have any, courses on drafting? And they said, oh, yeah, we've got one just starting. So I took this course, and I drew the plan myself and took it to the county to get it approved. And, I just did things like that all my life. If I wanted to upholster, I learned how. Whatever was in front of me, I didn't back away from it.
How did you learn how to upholster?
Read books, took it apart. And I figured, well, if you take it apart, it goes back the same way.
Oh. This is pre-YouTube tutorials. Way harder. You would have loved a YouTube tutorial.
Oh, wow. Yes, that is now you just watch YouTube and learn anything you want. Where back then you try to find a book or just teach yourself.
Wow. I'm so impatient when it comes,
Oh, yeah. You'd be like,
there's no way. If there's something that I want to do or learn, I will, but I have to want to do it.
Right.
Same for all of us. Mom's the same way. Like, if mom wants to do something, it'll be done. But if it's something that if there's like something wrong with the house and I don't care about it, like it's never getting done, ever.
Yeah. And your mom will put everything else aside.
Oh my God. She will go into a room
this
for
one
4 days.
project,
Yes.
zero in on it until she gets it done.
Absolutely. How do you figure out who you are?
That's a good one. I think it's just something you know.
Do you think that you create yourself, or do you think that you find yourself?
I think you find yourself. Probably both. If you want to be something, then you will try to create yourself to be that. But to really find yourself, it just comes naturally.
I think a lot of who you are, at like 5. It's before the world jades you.
Gets a hold of you.
It's before the world gets a hold of you and tells you who you need to be or what you need to like, or
right.
like the societal pressures. Everything that I am even doing now as an adult are all things that I liked when I was 5. They're just a more elevated version of it,
Right.
So I do think that we have this sense, I think that we find ourselves and create ourselves. Because I think we do have a sense of who we want to be and what we like before the world gets a hold of us. But then I think there's also elements of like, you don't even have any proximity to these. You probably have only been in one city at that point, but I felt like you haven't had a ton of life experience. So maybe that changes you too. Okay, moving on to some style. Just style, confidence, living well. Are you ready for this? What is your signature dish?
Stew. It's the only thing I could make and my kids liked. And I made 2 different pots. One had vegetables, one didn't because they didn't like vegetables. So I made it special for them. But they would ask me, make your stew. And that was it.
I sometimes get asked in interviews for a friend of mine, like, what's like a signature dish in your family? Like, what did your mom and your grandma make growing up? And I'm like, oh, no. They didn't do that. I go, they did the other creative stuff. Like, they weren't really.
No, we weren't into cooking.
Yeah, cooking was not.
That was not our.
It's not your cup of tea.
No.
Not your thing. What is one thing every woman should own by 30?
By 30. A car?
Car's good. What about by 70?
By 70? I don't know. I don't own anything.
I know. You're not very materialistic.
I'm not. And I love living in my apartment with all my friends. And, I recently had an accident this year. And luckily I called one of my friends, and she rushed down and called the ambulance. And while I was in the hospital for 4 months, they went in and completely cleaned my apartment, did my laundry, changed my bedding, restocked my refrigerator. I mean,
I know, an angel. Sandy is an angel. I'll go over.
And Trisha, she is too.
I'll go over to her apartment And sometimes if they're hanging out, I'll just talk for 4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
I have a great time over there.
You just pull the chair up.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I have some questions for you guys. Like, okay, how do you stay confident as you age?
It's just natural.
I think you become more confident as you age.
I think you do too. And I think as you get my age, you don't care what you say.
Yeah.
It's like, if they don't like it, too bad. You just get more confident.
Mm-hmm. What is one moment you wish you could relive?
Probably the birth of my children, because that was so exciting.
You could never get me to relive a birth. Ever, myga.
It's not the birth itself, but afterwards, holding that baby that's a part of you. Mm-hmm. It's exhilarating. My wedding, very special.
How old were you when you got married?
22.
I was doing it at 22. My God, I was taking Jello shots on the table at the bar. I was not anywhere near that. What were your early 20s like?
Well, I just gotten married. We bought a house, so I was into decorating my house, and my sister had just had a baby, so I was all into that, and then I had a baby at 24. So it was just...
How did you find out you were pregnant for the first time?
I just knew.
You just knew?
I just knew.
Did you go take a test?
No, they didn't have pregnancy tests then. You had to go to the doctor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I just knew.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite decade of your life?
I don't know. I think I'm living it.
Really? You would say this has been the best decade?
Yeah,
really?
It's been good for me. It's been really good.
All right. You've just had a lot of tragedies in this decade.
Well,
it's a crazy
I have,
but
I've also had a lot of blessings.
Mm-hmm.
I have so many good, dear friends.
Yeah.
That I haven't had in a long time.
You have way more community now than you have. I feel
Yes,
like.
when I was married to Paul, I was really his nurse.
Yeah, he got very sick.
And I, for years, took care of him.
Mm-hmm.
And this has just been good.
Mm-hmm.
Even though
so busy.
I've had, losing Cody and then the accident.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you individually, like what your life is now is definitely better.
and I'm happy. I'm just very happy.
What do you want to be remembered for?
That I was a good person, kind.
What do you hope for the next generation?
Wisdom. Because I think this generation now is too much into themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think that social media has done that. So I hope that they are kinder, gentler, nicer to one another, more forgiving.
I do think a lot about how there's been so many great strides, like mental health is so talked about now. Like there's so many things that are just important that have happened. Mm-hmm. But I also do think that sometimes, like I will catch myself where like the only person I'm thinking of is myself, and it makes all of your problems in life seem so much bigger. There are some issues, obviously, like such as grief, that are just that catastrophic. But
right.
I think about even when I'm feeling weird about maybe like relationships or friendships or something, like mm-hmm. the more focused you are on yourself, obviously the bigger that issue is going to be. And every time you go do something nice for someone else, it reminds you that the world is so big and that you're not focused on your own problem. Like, I just think that we've lost... I talk about, like, the concept of having a village on the podcast a lot recently. Mm-hmm. And I think that we've lost, like, the art of having a village because we stopped doing things for each other. And then you're more isolated that way.
And take time to connect with other people. I had an instance where I was at the drugstore. I didn't like this one lady that could wait on you, and there was 2 lines, so I'm like, okay, which one can I get in so I don't have to get her because she drives me crazy, and of course I got in the wrong line and come up there, and she'd been gone for like 6 months. So anyway, I did say to her, you've been gone a while, She goes, and then she looked at me and she goes, my mom died. Aww. And she just had tears in her eyes, and I thought, how inconsiderate of me, And I just didn't like her because she was slow and I do everything fast. So I made a point after that to try to connect with people that you don't even know, that, mm-hmm. You don't know what they're going through or what's happening to them. So try to be kinder and more
understanding, give more grace.
Yeah.
If you could give one rule to live by, what would it be? Do you want to know what I think yours would be?
What?
Say whatever you want. Who cares?
Yeah, right. Well, I do that.
I think you would tell everyone to do that.
Yes. But do it with kindness.
Yes.
You don't have to be mean about it, but do it with kindness.
I think being direct is kind. I hate when people beat around the bush and just won't say something.
Oh, yeah.
It drives me crazy. And they mm-hmm. think that they're being kind, or they do it under the guise that they're just really nice. But actually, that's not nice because you're not telling them the truth.
You're not helping that person.
You're not helping that person. And really what it is you are not confident enough to like be strong within yourself and say something because you're not saying it because you're too scared to say something.
Exactly.
So really, it's actually about yourself. It has nothing to do with being nice. And this is just anything that's direct, like a yes or a solid yes or a solid no to a plan.
As long as you say it with kindness,
yeah.
You know, if they don't receive it, oh well, but most people will.
And there's so many ways to say things kind, like nothing, you don't have to be rude. Like that is not what we're talking about. But I just think being direct is being kind.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that makes me crazier than someone being indirect or not giving me the honest answer or know it. Like,
and you know that.
And you know that. And it drives you crazy. Or even just if someone asks you for like an opinion on something. Like I'm constantly like, what do you think I did wrong here? Like, what do you think? Or like, I'll give a situation. I'm like, all right, well, I don't know. I just think like in order to progress in anything, like you need to be able to be direct and also you need to be able to handle someone being direct with you. I just think because our family is pretty direct, I think I view being someone being direct with me as love because it means they care enough about
helping you.
Yeah, because it can be scary to say something that you're nervous about. But the more you do, I'm not scared ever.
No, you're not.
Ever. I'm like, that's insane. Like we're not doing that today, you know? Okay, do you want to play some family cards?
Yes.
So if you guys are new to the podcast, I have a home brand friend of mine, and we do have these family cards in their generational card game. We'll play some for Instagram after, but we'll do a couple on the show.
Okay.
And they're generational, so there's questions for your siblings, your parents, and your grandparents. So we love playing these. I made these actually in honor of my little brother. And we have a podcast code, actually, if you guys are interested in checking these out. House guest for 15% off, I believe, is the podcast code. How have your spiritual beliefs changed over time?
They've grown. I mean, they really have changed from what I believed when I was younger to what I believe now.
Can you give us a little background?
I grew up in a Catholic church, and I had a wonderful childhood. We went to church every Sunday. But my beliefs then, I think I would do every 10 years, I've changed to where now I have a much wider view of God. I just believe differently.
You're a lot more open-minded.
Way more open-minded. Just more aware of God's love for people. I mean, he truly is love. And I have watched a lot of videos on YouTube that are about people who have died and come back. And
the NDEs, near-death experiences.
Yeah, they've been very encouraging to me and given me an insight.
Can you talk about, you had a bad experience with church in like your 30s?
Yes, I did. Because when I left the church, those people would never speak to me again. And I just wanted to go to more of a non-denominational church. And that was it. Those relationships were over and done. And I was really shocked that we couldn't remain friends just because I went to a different church.
How did you not let that affect like your views on faith?
Because the church I was in was a very good church, and I wanted to grow. And it was a church I felt I could grow in.
All right, next one. What is your favorite thing we've ever done together?
Well, when you were little, maybe 2 or 3, I don't know which, but I had kept you that weekend, and that morning we went to church together, and then we went down to Main Street in St. Charles, and of course you were dressed to the nines.
Oh, I was always in a dress and a hat, always.
Always. And you had a little raincoat on because it had been raining, and every time we'd reach a puddle, you'd say, "Can I jump in it?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, go ahead." So you'd jump in it, by the time I took you back home, you were a mess. But you had fun.
My favorite as adults, I loved the garden when we did the garden together.
That was so much fun.
That was so fun. I want to do another one for fall because I'll be back most of the time. And then needle pointing. We just have been able to do so many. And that's actually a hobby that we started together. Like myga didn't teach me how to needle point. She wanted to learn, and so I got her a class for her birthday, and I went, and then we've had so much fun with it.
It has been so much fun.
It's so fun.
And then I do all your finishing.
Yeah, which is so convenient.
I make all your pillows.
Yes. Okay. What is your favorite material item that you own?
I don't own much material things.
I know, you're not very materialistic. I think it would be a needlepoint project or something.
Well, I would think my sewing room is everything to me. My sewing machines, my little work table where I complete my projects.
That's a good answer. What memory from your childhood means the most to you?
Just being with my brothers and sisters. And my brother Tom and I did a lot of things together. He just was a funny kid. One thing we did was, it was snowing. We had in our front yard, we had a baseball diamond because it was huge. We had like 3 acres. And then the backyard, the house set and it went down a hill, so we would sleigh ride. So he's on the bottom of the sled and I'm on the top. And he yells, "Duck!" Well, I didn't hear him. And there was a trailer and he went under the trailer. He ducked. And my head hit the trailer.
Oh, good.
And I mean, my whole face was just, and I think that's why I have all my migraines now. But he tells that story all the time. I told her to duck. One day we were all we ate dinner together every night. Every night at 6 o'clock was dinner. Like today, kids don't have that. But, and you were there. You did not miss dinner because you didn't eat if you did. So you were there. And, we were having a conversation, and it was about heaven, and my mom said, "I hope I go to heaven." And my brother looked at her, and he goes, "All mommies go to heaven." She used to tell that story over and over.
That's so
but
cute.
I had fun with my brothers and sisters.
Who do you think growing up left the greatest impact on you?
Probably my mom and my grandma. My grandma did too. She came and babysat us all the time and stayed with us, and we just loved her. Absolutely loved her. She let us do whatever we wanted. She always wanted to watch Perry Mason, and we're like, "No, we're not watching Perry Mason." I think we were kind of mean to her, but she made us whatever we wanted for breakfast, and just her coming and staying with us was awesome.
Fun grandma.
Yeah, she was a fun grandma.
Okay, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode with myga, my bestie. We can have you back anytime. This is a fabulous thing. Do you have anything else you want to say? Leave with the class.
No, I'm good.
How did you like your first podcast?
Oh, this has been awesome.
You feel good?
I'll come back.
Perfect.
I'll come back.